Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to you on this April 14th, 2025. I have all your stories for your rush hour ride to work. Now, Monday mornings suck, but this episode won't. This is everything you need to know for that water cooler conversation you may have to have with your boss. And trust me, you don't want to miss out on the stories we have today. All your Coachella updates from the terrible conditions for the campers. Pray for the campers at Coachella to the surprise cameos. I've got it all. And sadly, an arson attacked the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. I'll break that story down. And Blake Lively subpoena the conspiracy theory floating around the internet this weekend about how they may have obtained the subpoena of the infamous text messages from Jones' work. I'll get into that. And TikTok is the home for content sharing, and the Chinese are absolutely crushing it this weekend as they've responded to this trade war by showing all of the exclusive high-end goods that are actually made in China in their factories, and they're really upending the whole market. They're doing, it's crazy what's going on out there. I'll discuss that along with tariffs and how the administration actually blinked on now saying they're not going to be tariffing electronics coming from China. So looks like our iPhones are still only about $1,200. And more conversation around the crazy immigration issue happening out there. But first, let's get to our story about a fellow podcaster who just got the bag. I've got all these stories and more. It's all coming up right now on The Rush. Now, before we get into all of our amazing stories of the day, I have to tell you, I'm a man of my word, and I told you I was going to go to McDonald's over the weekend and get my Minecraft movie to see if I win any of the illustrious toys. And I am here to tell you, I actually went to McDonald's twice, not a sponsor, and I'm still alive right now, but God knows I've had some pretty bad gas. But the first toy that I got in my Minecraft movie box was the Fry helmet. Well, to be quite honest, I went to 3 McDonald's. The first McDonald's was sold out, and the second one I got the Fry helmet. And I was like, I was kind of underwhelmed by the toy. And so I went back the next day and I got Soda Potion, which I'm not an expert on if this is a good toy or not, but I think I don't know what it does, but I like soda and I like cologne, and it looks like a little soda cologne. So Soda Potion right there. Those are my awards. And the craziest part was I go through the drive-thru, and I haven't been to McDonald's in a while, right? And I go to the drive-thru and they say, do you want to pay with your McDonald's app? And I just laughed and said, no. Like, who has a McDonald's app? Is anyone using McDonald's app to pay? I think if you are, that's the intervention you need, right? That's all you need to know. That's like getting a rewards card for like your local liquor shop. Like maybe don't do that, you know? I mean, I use the Starbucks app when I go to Starbucks, but I mean, that's a little different than using a McDonald's. And I know someone's going, Dave, you got to use the McDonald's app. You get free toys. Well, I got these toys. I mean, let me know. Should I be using the McDonald's app next time I go to get my toys? So I've got 2 of the 6 items here, and we'll have to see. It looks like the Soda Potion it's a mysterious recipe. I guess it's called for fantastic fizzy flavors. All right, there it is. Okay, let's get into the news. This is a big day for Nick Viall. Look at this story. Hey, credit where it's due. Nick Viall strikes $30 million deal to keep podcast at Libsyn. This is incredible. So again, as soon as there's money involved, I'm thinking about this and hey, what is it? Rising tides raise all ships. How does that saying go? So I'm doing the math here, right? He's getting $30 million and he's got 24,000 reviews on his podcast. I have 1.5 thousand reviews on my podcast, which makes me 1/16th his size. So that means his 30 million, I should be worth 1.875 million. So I don't know. Libsyn, will somebody call me up and get me on the phone here? Because I'll take 1.87. I'll round it down to 1.5 million if you want. But either way, good for Nick. Money's money. And congratulations. Maybe they can buy themselves another producer to try to get that show tightened up. All right. How about this story for the day? Fingers crossed, Katy Perry is being shot into space with an all-female crew. Lauren Sanchez, who's, I guess, famous for marrying Jeff Bezos, and a few other people. Gayle King, who's famous for being Oprah Winfrey's friend. I guess if you're just friends with a famous person, they put you in a rocket ship. This is supposed to launch today as of the recording. It hasn't taken off yet. Let me know. Hopefully things go well.
I'm really excited about the engineering of it all. I'm excited to learn more about STEM and just the math about what it takes to accomplish this type of thing. I was winding down from a rehearsal the other day, and I was listening to Cosmos by Carl Sagan and reading a book on string theory, and
wow.
Yeah, I was like going to bed. That was definitely like helping. I was like, Pythagoras, Pythagoras.
I really hope that the rocket doesn't rely on Katy Perry's math, okay? It's like, by all means, we love a good firecracker song, but I'm pretty sure they're just going to buckle her up, shoot her into space, and she's going to get to look out the window, right? I mean, what else? Like, does she have a job on this thing? Is she the chef? Like, are they boiling the food? How does that? I mean, I don't know what's worth sitting next to Katy Perry on a rocket into space or eating the space food. Either way, we wish her the best along with the rest of the crew. I'll give reports as to how that goes. Well, it's not going well for the Coachella concert goers. It was a rough weekend for them, to say the least. Let's have a listen to this story on NBC News.
Chaos at Coachella as the journey to the iconic music festival's campgrounds turned into a parking lot.
We have been stuck in line for nearly 10 hours. There's no porta potties, so if you need to use the restroom, grab some food, whatever it is, do that first.
This as tens of thousands continue to flock to Indio, California ahead of the festival's first weekend.
We still haven't heard from organizers, so we don't know what went wrong and if they're going to fix it or not.
Listen, bottlenecks are bottlenecks. If anyone's been to Indio, there's like 2 lanes to get a couple 100,000 people in and out. So what are you got to check everyone individually. Everyone's hiding vodka in their shampoo bottles. It's a real melee out there. Hey, but look, and again, there's going to be people that love to make fun of those that go to the con. You paid $600 to wait in line, but it's like, hey, I mean, I guess they had a new company running security, but everything went off without a hitch. Although we will get into one of the issues. Looks like a man was arrested for threatening to bomb Coachella. You can't do that. Yeah, you can't. If you don't want to go, don't go. But let the people get all sweaty, go, or they're not going to get sweaty because it's too dry in the desert. You literally cannot sweat in the desert. But let them go out there and have some fun. You know what I mean? Like, what can you do? But I guess don't threaten to hurt anybody. Although that did happen. And here's the most interesting story I could find. There were great performances. Lady Gaga tore the house down, right? Good stuff. But here is, I guess it's pronounced David D4VD, face planting on stage. If you're listening to the audio only, I'll let you know what's going on here. But the performer is on one of the side stages, and he's going to try to run up to the DJ booth and do a backflip. Doesn't go as planned. So there it is. He falls on his back and on his shoulder right there. But look, hey, you miss 100% of the backflips you don't attempt, right? You miss 100% of the backflip. And in this case, he missed 100% of the backflips he did. Hey, but to be quite honest, I wouldn't know who this guy was if I didn't see him fail a backflip. And it's probably less his fault and more, maybe it was a little bit of a slippery DJ stage. You need to put those grip strips down on your DJ stage before attempting backflips in front of 20,000 people. Here's the moment, the surprise, where there was a surprise opener for Claro at Coachella on opening weekend. Have a listen to this.
I'm here to introduce someone very special that is opening up for Claro. So please give it up for Senator Bernie Sanders!
And of course, he comes out to a rock star welcome. Not exactly the young, hip artist you thought you would see, but hey, Bernie Sanders is as spry as they come. And listen, whether you like Bernie or not, you got to appreciate somebody who's spent, a good portion of their life working to try to make people's lives better, really. His biggest claim to fame, for the most part, is pushing agendas to help the working class. And he's been right every step of the way. He goes back to the civil rights movement. He was there marching in the streets, helping people out. And now his rallies are gaining insane numbers. He just sold out like a stadium yesterday in Salt Lake City. Not exactly his demographic. And between Indio, California and Los Angeles and all the other places that they've been traveling, it's just incredible to see this groundswell of a movement that they've got going on out there. All right, well, our really sad story to cover right now is the governor's mansion burnt on Passover. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Family safely evacuated, but their house was the victim. And again, I'm assuming the governor's mansion. This is the mansion that the state gives you when you, when you become governor. I don't think it was his like private residence, but it could have been, or I don't know. I'm sure they move in there and whatever. But the point is a guy jumped the fence and came in with like, some sort of, I don't know if they were Molotov cocktails or accelerant bottles to get a fire starting. And his name, Cody Ballmer, a 38-year-old man from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, arrested after cops say he hopped over a fence onto the property and forcibly entered the residence before setting it ablaze. And again, his photos show the inside of the part of the residence, a large room meant for holding gatherings, burned badly, ashes covering the floor and tables, while only a stack of plates in the center of one table seemed to have survived. And yeah, it looked like that was done, on Passover. I mean, again, does that make it a hate crime? Either way, charge him to the full extent of the law, because that's terror-inducing, and we do not need that on our public officials. I think there will be more of this than less because of the violent rhetoric out there. And they're saying this guy that's been arrested has posted pro-Trump things and anti-Biden things in the past. And I don't mean to politicize it, but clearly it's political when he went and burnt his governor's mansion. No, don't do that. If you don't like his policies, vote. That's what you should do. All right, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to share this crazy subpoena theory in the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni court case. That coming next. Okay, I'm going to need you guys to get your tinfoil hats on for this one, or maybe just your Fry helmet. But either way, so this is the new rumor that kind of was stirring over the weekend. Everyone's wondering where the subpoena is that was used to get the text messages from the PR company, Joneswork. Joneswork had these text messages that on their face really looked like they implicated Baldoni's side, because they talked about what was going on with Blake Lively's image and all of this stuff, right? But as it turns out, they argue, well, we weren't really doing anything, just Blake Lively wasn't liked. But either way, these text messages didn't surface out of nowhere. They say that they came lawfully from a subpoena, but everyone's saying, what subpoena? There was no court case to warrant the subpoena. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how this all plays out, but the rumor is, and we've reported this from several months ago, Leanne Newton shares here, that Ryan Reynolds and Aviation Gin were sued last year for copyright infringement. They settled with the plaintiff and dismissed the case. Now, the lawsuit that they were in last year was over a photographer basically claiming that they used the photographer's image without their sort of the right. So it was a copyright issue, Starcloth versus Aviation Gin. But now the conspiracy theory is that Starcloth may have been working with Ryan Reynolds and therefore hired Joneswork for PR, and then Ryan Reynolds was able to subpoena Joneswork along with Starcloth and maybe others for that lawsuit, and that's how they lawfully obtained the text messages. Now, again, this probably has already been debunked by lawyers out there, but it's a sexy theory. And how and where this actual subpoena actually came from, I still don't know, and I'm sure we'll find out by the time this trial starts. But folks are just wondering, the subpoena didn't just fall out of the sky. It had to have been attached to a case number, and what case is that? We'll keep our eyes and ears peeled to find that out. But interesting stuff over the weekend. I hope I did it justice. It's kind of complicated at this point. All right, well, you know what's not complicated? How bad our country is getting cooked in the trade war with China. That's right. We blinked, and I say we collectively, but the executive branch blinked. Trump exempts phones, computers, and chips from the new tariff. What? That's like if you tell your kid they're in timeout, but then you give them their iPad, they can go, hang out at the playground, talk to all of their friends. It's like, tariffs only work kind of like if you're actually going to use them in a way that inflicts some form of pain, right? It doesn't work if you don't. And by the way, I'm happy that it's not working. I don't want to have to pay $3,000 for my iPhone. Have a listen to this.
All right, this is new as of this morning. The White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has confirmed to NBC News that the administration has moved to exempt cell phones, computers, semiconductor chips, and a host of other electronics from Donald Trump's tariffs.
This is huge. So just imagine all the big electronics that we get that's manufactured in China, right? Chips, semiconductors, TVs, cell phones, all the big electronics out there are now going to be tariff-free. I mean, Allie, this is extraordinary. It's kind of like saying, we're going to impose 100+% tariffs on everything we buy from China, except for what we actually buy from them.
There it is. I mean, no, and by all means, it's just ridiculous. But this is because Tim Cook from Apple, of course, donated to Trump's campaign. There's all these insider deals, which makes tariffs really complicated because then individual companies are trying to bend the knee and say, please, Lord Savior, don't tariff our industry. And it just becomes a complete mess. In fact, let's jump over to this TikTok right here where Fareed Zakaria explains how tariffs failed in India because of the exact same thing that's happening now.
The Trump tariffs bring back memories for me, really bad memories. I grew up in India, a country that had lots of tariffs. The idea was to protect domestic industry from unfair competition. Sounds familiar? It did nothing like that. It produced stagnation and poverty and lots of corruption. Because with tariffs come carve-outs and exemptions, and every business has to go petitioning and begging the government to give them these waivers. And that's what happened in India. I came here and I thought, oh my goodness, thank goodness. Here businesses don't care who's in the White House. They just make great products and they sell them to customers. And that was true until now. Now you watch the orgy of corruption. It's already begun.
The orgy of corruption. Boy, that I would I would be down to watch that one. Okay, so yeah, I mean, look, what you're noticing, right? We have these tariff threats with Canada. What does it do? It inspires this movement by Canadians to buy local, buy Canadian, right? It's rallying what is supposed to be our trade partners. It's rallying them to kind of exclude us from other deals. And now we're getting to watch that happen in real time.
Put some numbers to it, and your colleague just mentioned some of this. About 95% of all shoes in America, about 95% of all toys in America are made in China. So basic needs that American families have are going to go up by quite a lot. And those were not exempted. Big tech was, they weren't. Another example, soybean farmers, there are about 500,000 of them in America. They lost about $20 billion in market share in the first Trump administration when he put similar tariffs on. Well, China has not taken down their tariffs on us selling soybeans to them going forward. So soybean farmers in America will continue to get hammered, and many could well go out of business.
And by the way, these soybean farmers are getting hammered. And this isn't like speculation. Look at this. China makes big Brazilian soy purchase as U.S. trade war worsens. So we're watching this happen in real time. And, you know, there's always this talk about how like, oh, we're against socialism and social democracy and we don't like government handouts. But you realize how many government handouts the agriculture industry actually gets the most government subsidies, right? It's important to keep these farms working and running. And yet now we're seeing China going, you know what? We don't really care where we get our soybeans from. Brazil, you're up. And that's exactly what's happening. Chinese soybean crushes scooped up an unusually large amount of Brazilian beans this week as the escalating trade war makes purchases of U.S. crops unviable. That's a real tongue twister. All right, so there it is. You know what I mean? I mean, it's wild, one thing after another. And again, say what you want about it. China has, really woken up the beast within, and they're taken to the internet to say, you know what? We're not going to be pushed around. J.D. Vance called them all peasants last week. Have a listen to this.
China, let me show you the United States products in my home. Nothing. Do you have something from China in your home?
So he's laughing because you know what? They have us consumer speaking by the balls. They have us by the balls because 95% of our shoes and toys and all this other electronics, they come from China. And I know what people are thinking. Well, that's why we need to have the tariff so that we can start making this at home. Well, it takes a long time for that process to play out. And the Trump administration's already blinking. And by that, I mean, in a game of chicken, they're already flinching and showing that they're not going to follow through on the tariffs in the first place. And to be quite honest, we don't have the capabilities to make most of these products at home. But what we're watching play out in China is fascinating because they're like, look, they have the means to ride this one out. We collectively, the United States, really flexed on this one, and we might not have the sort of equity and backbone to see this one through.
China is fully prepared to fight to the very end because the world is big enough that the United States is not the totality of the market in the world. So if the United States wants to go in that direction of completely shutting itself out of the China market, be my guest.
Yeah, and China will lose the US market, which, as I've said, is 15%.
We don't care. We don't care. China has been here for 5,000 years. Most of the time, there was no United States, and we survived.
They said we built the Great Wall of China before the U.S. was even, around. Unbelievable. Guys, look, I'm not laughing because I want the demise of the U.S. I'm just laughing at how dumb of an idea it was to pick a fight with a country that we rely so heavily on. And not only that, as has been talked about, the treasury bonds, right? A lot of our debt is owned by foreign countries, Japan, China, right? And if they decide to unload a lot of that debt, the interest rate goes up, and it's not looking good for our country. Yeah, so what I find so interesting is now out of China, you're seeing all of these viral TikToks come out showcasing the manufacturing industry that's making all of the luxury goods. In this case, they talk about Hugo Boss and Brooks Brothers. They also talked about Hermes and all of the high-end bags that come out of Italy. And they really show that in these markets where they're manufacturing, they're doing it all there. And I think what they're trying to show is that in the global world we live in, you don't have to go to Italy to get that handbag. You don't have to go to, wherever it is, Nordstrom's to get these nice outfits. Like they are selling directly from there. This is very dangerous to see for those that think we're going to win this trade war because, again, like I said before, we're creating an enemy ourselves from the global market, the global economy. So now you can just get on a phone and order your beans from Brazil. You can get on the phone and order, while our market and our purchasing power are big, it's only 15% of China of what they sell to a whole bunch of other people. So again, not looking good. Also not looking good for DOGE. Check this out. Again, this is important stuff to cover. I know people think we're kind of beating up on you right now, but Elon Musk drastically drops the DOGE savings goal from $2 trillion to $150 billion for the year. They were saying, we're going to slice all of this fraud. We're going to get it out of here. No, don't get me wrong. They got rid of some money, but $150 billion, heck, we've almost spent that much bombing Yemen already. You know what I mean? And that money goes very quickly with the big war machine we have here. So $2 trillion down to $150 billion, if I do my math correctly, they're only going to achieve 13% of what they promised. Don't you think that was a lot of bad publicity, bad PR, not to mention all of the jobs lost? What's that going to do to our economy, moving forward? All of those families that aren't going to be, making money, doing the different jobs, all of the farmers who don't have food orders now because it was all canceled and they were building barns and now that grant is being pulled back, all to save $150 billion, which, by the way, look, I think we should try to crack down on frivolous spending. Absolutely. But 13% is a pretty low number. If I was at a company and I promised I would have $2 trillion in savings and I only did 13% of my job, I would probably be fired. Well, here's our final story we need to talk about. The attorney for Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man who was wrongfully deported, said that he was dismayed by the government's attorneys not even being able to explain his client's whereabouts. Now, I can't sanitize this for you guys. They're wondering if he's even alive at this point. That's what they're wondering. This is the man who innocently was sent to an El Salvadorian prison, and his attorney is saying they are not cooperating. Now, the Supreme Court voted 9-0 to say get him back into the U.S., and so far, nothing has been done. Have a listen to this.
The government refused to provide any of those pieces of information that the judge ordered them to provide. Not only the information about what future steps they're planning to take, they even refused to answer the question about what they've done so far, and they even refused to answer the question about where Kilmar Abrego Garcia is today. For the second time in this case, they sent a lawyer into court who had no answers. The government attorney did say that they intend to comply with the order and bring him back. That's the bare minimum. They should have done that already. They've had plenty of time between the Supreme Court's order early yesterday evening and now. He should be here in the United States. It's a 5-hour flight. Yeah, that was the most shocking thing of all, that the attorney for the government wasn't even prepared to answer the question, where is Kilmar Abrego today? And what?
Now, the biggest problem, in as we cover this story, is that there was somebody working for the Justice Department that initially said this was an error that we made. That person who admitted to the error has since been suspended. So you can't even admit when you did do something wrong, like send somebody out of the country to a prison. And instead they double down and say, well, El Salvador is a sovereign nation, and they can do what they want with the people that are there. This should be an issue that is uniting the country. And my fear, though, is that those that know this is wrong, they're kind of turning a blind eye to it because it sucks to be proven wrong. No one likes that. Now, I'm just going to ask my audience out there, if you need to share a video like this with somebody who may not understand what's going on, please do. We may be the only people, collectively independent media that can come out there and share the truth of what's happening to the point which we can facilitate change. If enough people are outraged, then hopefully they'll start listening, and they should listen, and you should be outraged. We'll give updates daily on this story as it transpires, because if they can do this to him, they can do it to you. Absolutely. And we can't let that happen. Not in this country, at least. So anyhow, we'll have some updates today, and this afternoon we'll be back to wrap it all up. Whatever breaks throughout the day, we'll be here to cover it. We'll see you in a little bit. I'm Dave Neal, and this is The Rush.